Well, hello there. It's James Tuckerman here, and welcome to this episode of B2B Talk. Now, today, we're going to be talking about how to build your credibility without testimonials. Now, the reason why I've chosen this topic is that I come across a lot of early stage consultants, coaches, agency owners, and they say, how am I going to demonstrate my worth? How am I going to prove that I am credible if I don't have any testimonials yet? And a lot of early stage business owners use this as an excuse, as a cause of procrastination. They see it as a constraint, an artificial wall that they struggle to get over. That's why today I'm going to be talking about how to build your credibility, how to boost your profile, how to demonstrate your worth, even if you do not have testimonials. So I'm going to talk about 3 different strategies that you can apply if you do not yet have any testimonials, or maybe you're launching a brand new business, or maybe it's a brand new product or service and you don't have any client testimonials for that particular area of your business quite yet. Here are 3 strategies that I highly recommend, and some of these strategies will indeed even outperform testimonials if you want to demonstrate your value and worth to future customers and clients. Number 1, statistics, industry statistics. It's a really simple way to start adding a little bit of logic to your sales proposition. So for example, we run some training on how to sell by Zoom. And when we started running training on how to sell by Zoom, we didn't have any clients that had gone through our training. So of course we didn't have any testimonials or case studies that we could share. So what we did instead is we went looking for industry statistics that could demonstrate the real value of what it was that we were doing when we launched this brand new product for the first time. And one of the earliest statistics that we came across was a really insightful bunch of data from management consulting behemoth McKinsey & Company. And what they found is that COVID had dramatically changed the expectations of senior buyers in the B2B space. So senior decision makers, business owners, CEOs, managing directors, or just senior middle managers in organizations that you might want to sell to if you're in the B2B space. And what they discovered was that 81% of senior B2B decision makers did not want sales and marketing to go back to the way that it was pre-COVID. So they prefer remote selling. They prefer to be able to do a lot of the things on their own that you might have previously done for them. And it was a staggering 81%, which means that 81% of people were looking forward. They'd acknowledged how much easier it is to use automation tools, how much easier it is to be able to engage with people online, how much easier it is for them to collect the information that they need to make informed decisions. And of course, we were running this training called How to Sell by Zoom, which is part and parcel of that. So we didn't have any testimonials to support how good our training was going to be, but we could go out with a statistic from a credible organization, McKinsey & Company, and indeed, we could borrow their credibility. We could leverage their credibility by saying this organization has come to the conclusion that 81% of your customers and clients want you to be embracing the types of tools that we're going to teach you in this training. Now, that is not a testimonial, but that there is a fairly strong proof point. And the reason why a lot of people like testimonials is because there is always that part of your future customer or client's brain that needs to hear the logical argument or the logical case. So statistics are a great alternative. And you can go out there and you can say, this is a brand new product, this is a brand new service. However, I know that according to organizations like McKinsey & Company, you're going to need this type of information. So in the absence of a testimonial, have a look for some industry statistics that are going to support your claim. The second thing that you can use if you do not have testimonials, and indeed you do not have statistics, are your own personal wins. Now, it's obviously going to be better if you can identify other people that have similar experiences and are in a similar situation to your customers and clients rather than you. But once again, if we're looking for proof points to boost our credibility, when we start to talk about the things that we've done, and we can share that information by providing details such as metrics and data, that there is extremely compelling as well too. So for example, just in the last 24 hours, I was watching an ad where there are these two young fellas from North America, and they were selling their course creator program. There was an ad where they were selling their course creator program. And the first 3 testimonials that they had were the first 3 courses that they launched. So they didn't go out there and say, hey, this is what we can do for clients. They went out there and they said, this is what we did for us. And these are the results that we got. And it was very compelling data. So if you're going to be going out there and making claims and suggesting to your future customers and clients that you're in a position to help them, it does help if you've applied those strategies to your own business and you've got some results. I mean, like in my world, we are extremely experimental. There's pretty much nothing that we ever teach that we haven't done ourselves. We've experimented in a lot of different ways over the last 10 years. And indeed, at times, we've got ourselves in trouble. I've put my foot in it more than once. I've been slapped on the wrist by future customers and clients, by social media platforms, by other people in my space, just because we push the boundaries that little bit too far. But in doing so, we discovered the limits, and we always like to discover the limits. And that's because if we discover the limits, you don't have to discover the limits and make the mistakes that we've already made. So if you don't have testimonials and you don't have statistics, surely you must have tried to apply the strategies that you are training and you're teaching. If you are trying to teach people how to do things that you've never tried to do yourself, maybe take a step backwards, take a little bit of time out and have a go yourself and monitor all the different steps so that you can create a blueprint or a plan and collect the data every single step of the way. An example of that in our world is we know that a lot of business owners, consultants, agency owners, coaches, if you're in the B2B space, usually most new client relationships start with some sort of conversation. So someone reaches out or you reach out to somebody else and there seems to be a bit of a connection. They might need what it is that you have and you book a call, and it might be over the phone. It might be over Zoom. It might be face-to-face. Now, we've asked countless B2B business owners what they think their close rate is when it comes to meeting with a future customer or client. And the more bullish business owner will say, oh, maybe like 1 in 2, 1 in 3. And that is because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we're like gamblers, and gamblers really only ever remember the wins. If we didn't focus on the times of success, we'd never get out of bed in the morning because we're confronted by so many obstacles all the time. Now, we had some similar ideas within our business, and my business partner, John Inglesos, who does the majority of the sales calls or has most of the conversations with potential customers and clients. If we'd said to John, what's your close rate? He would have said, oh, 1 in 2, 1 in 3. But of course, you cannot improve what you can't measure. So we measure all these different things. And when John went out there and we started measuring his close rate, it was more like 1 in 5, maybe even 1 in 6, because there are lots of conversations that you have that don't go anywhere. So a couple of things that we started to do was we started to measure the effectiveness of John's different conversations. There was a couple of different things we measured. One of the things that we measured was the show up rate. And we were really surprised to discover that about 1 in 5 people just don't even show up for the meeting, or they postpone, or they cancel, and some really rude people just ghost you. But once again, the gambler doesn't notice that. So we began to record the show up rate. The second thing that we began to record was how many people we closed on the first call. Then we began to record how many follow-ups were needed on average to close. Now, according to the pundits out there, according to people that measure this stuff, it takes 5 follow-ups on average to close a B2B client. In our world, on average, it takes 2 or 3, but once we drilled down to the detail of how to run a successful sales conversation, we did get our sales conversations to a point where the show-up rate decreased, which is great because we were able to elevate anticipation before the meeting. The second thing that we're able to do is able to count the number of people that closed on the first call, which ultimately we've got it to a point which is about 1 in 3, depending on the price point, and how many people close on the second or the third call. And Johnny now has got his close rate to about 1 in 3. We recently recruited someone to do sales calls for us, and this person is now closing 1 in 3 as well. So why am I telling you all this? Well, once again, I could share some of the wins of our clients, but in the beginning, we didn't have those wins. We had to figure out the way that things worked on our own. And to do that, we decided to monitor and measure the types of things that we were doing. So once again, if you do not have testimonials, statistics are really, really helpful. If you don't have statistics, check out some of your wins and focus on some of the things that are working in your world and make sure that you test things. What's the third thing that you can do to build your credibility when engaging with people, future customers and clients that might not know you well, they might not trust you yet, they're not a stranger, but they're probably more like a suspect. They could be a prospect, but you're really struggling deep down because you're thinking, what can I share with this person to be able to demonstrate that I've got the skills to help them pay the bills, or at least my organization does. So if you don't have a testimonial, and if you don't have statistics, and you don't have wins of your own quite yet, or they're not wins that you want to share, my favorite way of demonstrating credibility, demonstrating that you can do what it is that you do, is to share your process. Now, if you're in the B2B space, particularly if you're an agency or you're a coach or you're a consultant, chances are you sell your time. You sell your time first, then you sell your expertise and your know-how. People are paying you for your experience, your knowledge, all these different things. But these are not things that people actually ever really want to buy. They don't want to buy your time. They don't want to buy your knowledge. They don't want to buy your expertise. And the reason for that is that most people don't value their own time. So when you say my time is worth $200 an hour, $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, you're always going to get people who are going to raise their eyebrows and say, really? Wow, that sounds expensive. And I've had people come into our world and they sell their services for $25 an hour. And they've still had people say to them, wow, that sounds expensive. Right? People don't want to buy your time. They also don't really fully, truly understand or appreciate how much effort goes into fully getting in touch with what it is that you do. But however, if you can reframe what it is that you do and structure it in the way where you can present it as a thing, not only is that going to make it easier to sell what it is that you do, but it's also once again going to help boost your credibility. There used to be a saying, the margin is in the mystery. Have you ever heard that? The margin is in the mystery. And what that simply means is that if I don't tell you what it is that I do, or if I don't tell you how it is that I do what I do, I can charge you more. Now, that might have been true for 10, 15, 20 years ago, if that. But the reality now is that most of your mysteries are now available as a 5-minute YouTube clip, which means that if you can share your process, that's one of the most reassuring things that you can do. And I have seen people go out there and they've got no testimonials they've got no statistics, they've got no wins, but they go out there and say, this is the process that we use, that we teach, that I want to introduce to your business. And we're going to go on this journey and we're going to work through A, B, C, and D together. And it is indeed one of the most reassuring things that any business owner can do when you sell knowledge or expertise. And that is indeed package up what you do as a process, as a system, because systems equal sanity, as a method, as a formula. One of our most popular training programs, and we have, in the first 3 years of launching this particular training program, we made about $1.8 million in online sales. And at the time, this was absolutely unheard of, selling training online and generating a lot of money, 7 figures plus. Indeed, in the first 3 years, we generated $1.8 million in sales selling this online training product. And that put us among the top 1% of online training product sellers in the world. And I believe that stands true to this day, because there's a lot of people that produce training products and try to sell them and don't make much money at all. Indeed, if you make more than $1 million, I think you're in the top 1%. But this training product, the first one that we created, I didn't know what to call it. And we still run this training program today. It's still outrageously popular. And the outcomes were very clear. We were going to help our clients generate more leads. We were going to help them build their authority. And we were going to help them get decisions from better quality clients faster. And we couldn't come up with a name for this particular training program. In the end, we simply called it, are you ready? The Recipe. And in a couple of months, we're launching the Recipe again. We do so every year. We call it the Recipe Reloaded. We bring on a whole bunch of new people and we re-record it and make it better each time that we do it. But the reason why we called it the Recipe is because we realized that our target audience, sure, you guys and gals want outcomes. You want that incredible feeling that you get when you get results. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that I can give people in our world is something that we call decision clarity. What's decision clarity? That's simply when I say, well, don't focus on this, focus on that. And that's going to get you to the destination that you want to reach in the least amount of steps. So we called it the Recipe, the same way that you'd bake a cake. I could say, okay, if you're going to bake a cake, you're going to need these 3 ingredients. Put them on the table right now. So I could say that with the Recipe. Here are the 3 things that you're going to need. You're going to need some content. You're going to need a funnel sequence. You're going to need a set of emails. And let's pull it together following a sequence of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it is done. The Recipe. And as I said, that particular training program has generated millions of dollars. 1.8 in the first couple years when we were still measuring the impact of that particular training program. But if I bring this back to the topic today, how to build credibility without testimonials and how to get over that very irrational, very silly, very unhelpful form of self-sabotage that I've seen so many people come across. So I can't really push my product or service. I can't really propel my business forward. I don't want to do any marketing. I don't want to get particularly proactive until I have these ducks in a row. And one of those things is often a testimonial. If you don't have the testimonials yet, as I have said already, it helps if you have 3 things. Let's recap. Those 3 things are, number 1, statistics. Your customers and clients are looking for proof points. If you can demonstrate that other people in your industry are delivering a similar product or service and getting their clients results, that helps. If you can demonstrate that there are statistics or data that is showing how your industry is changing for your customers and clients, statistics and data, that's terrific. If you can share your own wins, that's super powerful as well too. This is the process that we went through. These are the wins that we got. But best of all, if you can bed down what it is that you do and transform it into a process or a method or a system or a formula, we have found that that is one of the most reassuring things that you can do to support your future customers and clients at the early stages of the relationship to help them make a decision.